Marc Marquez was not asked to rank the two riders fighting for the championship he is chasing. He did it anyway. At World Ducati Week, in front of Ducati's own crowd, he said of Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi, when they were in Ducati, Martin was much faster than Bezzecchi. That clip travelled. It got cut down, shared, and taken as the reigning champion's verdict on which Aprilia rider is actually better. It is not a verdict. It is the opening half of something far more damaging to both of them. So what did Marquez really say about a title fight he now sits 18 points out of? And why does the rest of that answer make the championship leader look smaller? Here is what separates this from the usual paddock needle. Marquez never names a better rider. Not once. He sets up a comparison with two clear subjects, runs it in both directions, and then takes the rider out of the equation altogether. Whatever that quote was, it was not a compliment to Martin, and it was not a demotion for Bezzecchi. Both of them lose something inside the same sentence, and neither one loses it to the other. The part that got trimmed out of the clip is the part that actually explains why. Start with what he was answering. The question was about data, about how much of modern MotoGP performance now comes from information rather than instinct. Marquez did not give a data answer. He gave a hardware answer. It depends on the bike, and it depends on the riding style, he said. For example, we have two clear examples. Bezzecchi and Martin. When they were in Ducati, Martin was much faster than Bezzecchi. Then, when they jumped to Aprilia, now he is leading Martin. In the lap times, Bezzecchi was even faster than Martin. So, is Bezzecchi better than Martin? Is Martin better than Bezzecchi? It depends on the riding style. Listen to the shape of that, not the content. He asks the ranking question twice, in both directions, and answers neither one. Two riders, one manufacturer, now the same garage, but their results changed after separate Ducati careers and Martin's injury-disrupted first Aprilia season. That is not an opinion about talent. That is a claim that talent was never the variable in the first place. And if it holds for those two, it holds for every rider on the grid, including the one saying it. The uncomfortable thing is that the premise checks out. Martin arrived at Aprilia as a world champion. Bezzecchi arrived as the rider nobody had picked to beat him. On Ducati machinery, that order was never really in question. Then both of them changed bikes, and within 20 months, the man who had been the benchmark had spent long stretches doing the chasing. But there is a hole in the argument, and it is a big one. Martin's first year at Aprilia was never a fair test of anything. It was gutted by injury before he got a clean run at the bike, and a rider learning a new machine from a hospital bed is not a rider whose lap times mean what Marquez says they mean. He compared two men as if both had been handed the same season. They had not. And, oh yeah, there is one more piece of this, and nobody has attached it to the quote yet. Less than a week after the interview appeared, the Saxon Ring changed the title picture in the ugliest way available. Bezzecchi went into qualifying sitting third on the timesheets and got thrown over the front of the bike under braking for turn 7. Complete and displaced fracture of the left collarbone. Surgery in Italy. Out of the sprint, out of the race, out of the weekend. Marquez took pole, won on Saturday, then won again on Sunday. A perfect double against a grid missing one of the two men the whole quote was about. Then look at what that did to the numbers. Martin leads on 208 points. Marquez sits third on 190. Bezzecchi has dropped to fourth on 186. Hold on to the gap between those two positions because there is a name sitting in it, and the lead Martin is defending right now came at Assen, where he finished third and Bezzecchi crashed out. The collarbone injury only widened it. Marquez had already told everyone how he saw this fight back in June at Balaton Park, when he was still 102 points off the lead and nobody rated him. "I know that nobody likes the pressure," he said, "but the guys to beat are both Aprilias." Then he went further. "Here, I will try to be close to them, but I think it will be impossible. If I am with them, it means that they are doing something not in a good way." That was not modesty. That was a man drawing the boundary of his own excuse in advance. Since his comeback ride at Mugello, he has won 3 of the 4 Grands Prix, and 102 points of deficit has quietly become 18. So here is the name in the gap, Ai Ogura. Not the factory Aprilia, Trackhouse, the satellite team, the independent garage, running the same factory specification RSGP as Aprilia Racing. 3 runner-up finishes, then the win at Assen, the first by a Japanese rider in the Premier class since Makoto Tamada in 2004. And while Bezzecchi was in an operating theatre in Italy, Ogura finished second in Germany behind Marquez. He arrived at that circuit 4th in the standings. He left it second on 194 points, 14 behind Martin, ahead of Bezzecchi, ahead of Marc Marquez. Marquez built a whole theory about the bike deciding who looks like a great rider, and the strongest evidence for it is a man he never mentioned. On the machine, nobody would have picked. The style detail underneath it is what makes it land. It was Martin himself who tried to describe what Ogura does out there. "It seems he's crashing every corner," Martin said, "because his upper body is really down, but the bike is straight." That is the entire argument in one sentence, delivered by the championship leader about the rider closing him down. People thought Marquez was ranking Martin above Bezzecchi. He was saying neither of them ever changed at all. The bike changed. And a satellite rider on a customer Aprilia is now proving it on both of them at once. So what was Marquez actually doing at World Ducati Week? He was not settling a fight between Martin and Bezzecchi. He was building the exit for whoever loses this championship, and that includes himself. Watch how neatly it protects him. If Marquez takes this title from 18 points back, it is a masterclass, because the Aprilias were the bikes to beat, and he said so on record. If he loses it, the answer is already written. The bike suited somebody else. The riding style did not match. Nobody was better. The machinery just moved underneath them. But this is where it turns on him. Apply that logic backwards, and it does not stop at Martin and Bezzecchi. Marquez won his 7th Premier Class title on the factory Ducati, his 9th World Championship in all, level with Valentino Rossi on both counts, in his first season inside that garage, on the best motorcycle on the grid. If a bike can invert the order between 2 riders in the same tent, it can flatter one in a red one. Marquez did not just hand Martin and Bezzecchi an excuse. He handed one to every person who wants an asterisk next to his own season. The clip said Martin was much faster. The full answer said something colder. Nobody in this fight is better than anybody, and the bike decides who gets remembered. Do you buy that? Or is Marquez protecting himself? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.